Hey, it's me, Narrative, and this is a review of the Figuarts Kamen Rider Geats Laser Boost and Boost Mark II forms. Despite this being a 2-in-1 package, the box itself prominently displays only one form. The other form, arguably the better form that is included in this package, can only be seen on the back.
Revolve on. Dual on. Hyperlink. Laser boost. Ready. Fight.
The figure comes packaged in its Laser Boost form. The strongest aspect of this form is its appearance, with the white armor contrasting excellently against the darker undersuit. The painting is top-notch as expected, with the highlight being these blue-purple gradients in the chest, shoulders, and skirt, though the most prominent of them being the painting on the eyes. On the back, the figure has these nice tail tassels. A part of me still wishes that this and the other skirt pieces were wired somehow. I'm getting really tired of how these things limit figure expression when it comes to posing. And that's as far as I'll go when it comes to praising this form. On my copy, some paint issues have occurred. The white chest armor has some paint bubbling on the chest, and underneath the armor it seems that some red paint scratched off and a weird red line seemed to form. Now onto the figure's weakest aspect, articulation. The undersuit itself has pretty standard SHF articulation, but the additional armor paddings get in the way of that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Speaking of which, the head can look up that far, and can go around 360 degrees and look down that far. While good, I wish it could look up a bit further. Also, is it just me, or does the neck feel too long? Also, on my copy, the neck is scratched up to heck. I have no idea what happened there, but I tend to just cover it up with the large head. As they say, out of sight, out of mind. The arms can go out that far, and yes, that's as far out as I can get it. It's really sad, honestly. I would really like to push it further out, but the shoulder armor's beginning to bump into the red collar. It scraped off some of the paint near the edge, so I'm not going to push my luck any further. The bicep can swivel, although I'm not going to rotate it all the way around, since there are these straps on the bicep that can break if you rotate them too much. It's already happened to my original Geats figure. The elbow can bend at around 90 degrees, a bit disappointing truly, but that's just the way that it's molded. This doesn't have anything to do with the additional armor paddings. The legs can move forward that far, a pretty solid bend, and it can do the splits. The little fins on the boot can also rotate. Might as well get this out of the way now. The belt can rotate to simulate the revolve on function. The lower portion of the figure holds great points of articulation, but the front skirt piece keeps falling out. The connection isn't really the best, and with the skirt being made out of this hard but flexible plastic material, there isn't much leeway in the leg movement. In terms of weapons, the laser boost form can remove the laser portion of the belt. Part swapping is needed to simulate the gun form. A pair of holding hands is included, and with that you can throw it all away. Make sure to put all the armor pieces down the trash. And we can finally move on to the real highlight of this review. To change the figure to its Boost Mark II form, simply pull the top and bottom portions of the figure apart for simplicity's sake. Then take off the head, then the horrible chest armor, and lastly, slide off the belly. Be gentle when removing the chest piece, that's what she said. For the lower half, just take off the belt, throw away the front skirt piece, turn the belt around for the correct orientation. Just put Humpty Dumpty back together again and you're done. It comes to no surprise that this is my preferred form of the two items in this package. After all, it's red, goes fast, what more do you need? Speaking of which, does anyone else find it odd how a trend in the Reiwa era seems to be covering up really good looking forms and then giving them horrible armor choices? I mean, it's probably only happened like 4 times, so, you know. Well, putting that aside, this form is excellent. The silhouette is much sleeker, although I find myself finding the uniformity of the form a bit boring now. Nonetheless, I still like the form's appearance. Where this thing shines is in its articulation. Aspects such as the head, torso, and leg articulation remain unchanged, but is much easier to pose without the fluff hanging off the body. The arms have better range of movement, as expected. It might be a small thing, but this makes it so much more fun to pose. Before I forget, this is the foot detail. Probably one of my least favorite foot details in all of Rider. A sentence that I didn't expect I'd say today, or much less in my entire life. For accessories alongside the aforementioned armor parts, you only get a few sets of hands. And none of them are Geats' signature pose hands. What is wrong with you, Bandai? You already got the hands before in the Boost package! Here are some size comparisons. Overall, for a 2-in-1 package, it's okay. The SH Figuarts has already done this approach several times in the past, although the appeal of this approach still escapes me, since you still kind of have to buy 2 of the same figure if you wanted to display them separately. And if you do buy 2 of them, you'll end up with a pile of spare parts that you'll have no use for. I got this thing for a relatively cheaper price than most people will, and I can already imagine the upsurge in aftermarket prices since this is a 2-in-1 type of deal. Geats Figuarts have surprisingly been harder to acquire in this regard. Like, I seriously can't find any of them for fair prices. Regardless, if you intend to buy this thing for one form only, then you won't be disappointed. You'll just have a bunch of spare parts to lose. As far as I'm concerned, this thing is run-of-the-mill without that aspect of the 2-in-1 figure. Do not be tricked by the higher prices. Try and get this thing for the standard retail price if you can. That's all from me. Thanks for watching, and I think it's time for me to head back someplace far, far away. Does anyone else know the way?